So session is being recorded for people who were not able to make it and for someone who wants to catch up later again. I'll send out the recording link at the end of the session to all of you. Okay. I'm gonna then start sharing my screen and jump on to uh, the actual work. Okay. So let's start with the basic on adding Copilot or Claude inside Excel. So just gonna give you a brief walkthrough of how do you do that. So I already have Claude installed inside Excel. So this is an add-in um, lets you enable to use Claude as a chat and also a feature inside Excel. So the easiest way to add is go to the add-ins here and you can type in Claude or probably go here to add more add-ins and just type Claude for Excel. Yeah, you would see something like this, Claude by Anthropic for Excel. Just click on add here and that would bring up the Claude icon in your home ribbon here, right here in Excel. Once that is done, you can click on the icon. So since I have already logged in, this is the home screen or the interface that you're going to see. But then you would see a prompt for logging in. You can use the credentials that's been used. Uh, Mostly that would be your organization's SSO or email ID to sign up, and then you'd get this kind of interface where you can type in anything. If you select something, say probably select a range or select any cell here, Cloud automatically picks it up here. So for example, if I select this particular range, it kind of um, gives that gives that range popping up so that you also know that you can you're talking about this particular section within the workbook. Also, these are some of the skills that Claude is prompting you. This is like ready to use, available for you to use. So just gonna touch a brief about the skills here. So skills are like pre-packaged, set of instructions that Claude automatically loads when they're relevant to what you're asking uh, what you're asking or whatever is there on the screen. For example, since we are inside Excel, you'll be able to see this audit. So what it does is it kind of audits the formula inside your Excel. There's a clean data skill which kind of cleans all of the data in a messy data set. There's a DCF model to build actual discounted cash flow models. There's also a comps analysis which does a comparable companies analysis inside Excel, pulling data from the internet. So it's just basically having Claude specific how to do guides for a task that it kind of needs to perform instead of having us to explain the same context over and over again. So there's some predetermined skills or pre-built skills that Claude or Anthropic provides for all of the common tasks which are which we do inside, say, Excel, PowerPoint, Word. So some of the work that you'll see later in the session is actually a skill quietly doing its job in the background, not just the base model. You can also create skills based on custom requirements, and we are going to cover that. So that's a topic on its own, and we're going to cover that in detail in a following session as well. Okay. Let's also talk about the models here a bit. So you'd be able to select from the right side bar from the Claude interface. You'd be able to select different models. So um, Opus is the most capable model after Fable 5. This is the most flagship model that they have released. Um, but and for everyday tasks, if that's not very it needs more complex calculation, if it needs something that needs real judgment, um, I would suggest using Sonnet as a base model for most of the tasks, unless we are doing very complex coding or very complex or building very complex models inside Excel, because this is the most efficient model, since we would also need to keep in mind the token usages. For team plans, there's a set of tokens um, that you are assigned to use as a team and as an individual too. So there's limit on how much tokens you can use, which in simple terms means how much prompt you can give it to Claude, and it gives you back the inputs. At some point of time, it burns all of the tokens and it just stops working at that point of time. So Sonnet is something that could handle 2, 3 hours or 4 hours of constant inputs, depending on the work that we are trying to achieve. But Opus really gives good inputs. It's a very capable model, but it really it is just burns the tokens um, 10x more than Sonnet. And the difference of output that you get is wouldn't be that high. Okay. Um, I I also want to address one other thing. So for Copilot, it's a bit different. So not just wanted to say this out loud here. Not every Microsoft 365 license automatically gives you Copilot inside Excel. So the Copilot chat itself is free. That's the basic version you might have already have, and that comes with the entire Office 365 package. But that only gives you like a general chat window. For example, you can use Copilot chat in the browser, or you can download a Copilot chat in desktop, something like this, right? You see that we see here. And it's a general chat window. It does not put Copilot inside any of these tools, for example, Excel, Word, or PowerPoint. To get Copilot working inside Excel, your organization needs the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot add-on. So if you don't see Copilot icon, so there's not initial setup that's required that we kind of did for Claude. But for Copilot, you would automatically see it based on the license that is assigned to your account. So you would see Copilot somewhere here, or like a floating icon here on the screen, and that's consistent for all of the Microsoft apps. It also has the same kind of interface, and see uh, it, what the main difference is just Claude was prompting us to use one of those skills based on whatever we can do inside Excel, and Copilot goes a bit more um, inside the file and says, organize this data inside the workbook, create a summary of this workbook, analyze the workbook, and give data insights. So it has already started reading your data. So that these are the subtle differences between those two tools. And while I am explaining this, I would also like to address one common question that most of us have. Should we use Copilot or Claude? So honestly, the answer really depends on the task we are doing. Um, Claude tends to be a bit stronger when you're walking across, say, multiple tabs or multiple sheets within the Excel workbook, or when you need really interconnectivity between those sheets. There's formulas linking to different sheets. So then it's generally considered better for these deep complex modeling works. But Copilot's biggest strength, and we've spoken about it in the first session as well, is that it lives natively inside the Microsoft ecosystem. So that means your data never leaves the organization environment, and it also kind of inherits all the same compliance and security controls that the other Microsoft 365 apps have. So it really boils down to the decision. If you're dealing with something sensitive, proprietary data, it is always advised to use Copilot. Um, and at today's date, at this point, I think both of the tools are having used them extensively, even on the similar tasks to see how the output differs. So I can say that the both of the tools are fairly capable of doing the same thing. One might do it marginally better in some aspects, the other might do it better in other aspects, and the output might slightly differ, but that itself doesn't make a huge difference and not enough to do the trade-off and put the company data at risk. So yeah, uh, Copilot is definitely safer than Cloud. Okay, so we spoke about the basics. Let's jump right into the data set that we have here. So this is a fictitious data. This is all fabricated. Just for the session walkthrough. So we have named the company Phoneway Software. It's a completely made up company, but this data kind of resembles real business data, or how a CRM export from a real company would look like. So this is supposedly a B2B SaaS company that kind of sells workflow analytics and platforms to other businesses. We have a messy spreadsheet here. You can see right off the bat, there's inconsistencies in the date format, date stored as text. I can see there's amount. Some of the monthly revenue amounts are say negative. These are as stored as numbers. Some of them are stored as currencies, text. There's no data. There's missing data. In the renewal columns, there's bunch of different inputs for a similar binary input. Say yes, no. There's true, false, y, and yes. Um, there's different casing issues throughout through the status. I kind of also see there's trailing spaces here. I'll just zoom in to show you this trailing spaces in here, and there are a bunch of duplicates as well. Here in this data set, there's blank rows. So this is like a really messy data that we are kind of starting to work with. And I'll jump right in. So I do have all of the prompts that I'm going to use throughout the session created just so that we be efficient throughout the session. And I'll share this data set and all of the prompts along while I share the recording of this session so that you can just play around with it and just see and get a feel of that yourself. Okay, I'll just start. Putting the first prompt, I'll use Claude, and I'll use both Claude and Copilot doing the same tasks. For some tasks, I've planned to use Copilot. For some of them, I've used to plan Claude, but both of them would give you the same input. We're just doing data cleaning here. So one other thing before I jump in and hit to run the first prompt is um, just wanted to take a pause here and emphasize one thing is that so for everything else that we're going to do today, starting from now on, so the way you phrase a prompt makes an enormous difference in the quality of what you get back. So this is a simple formula that I use every time, which is give the AI a role and tell it exactly what tasks you want to do, and also tell it exactly what output I'm expecting. So this is role, task, and the output. So every prompt that you're going to see throughout the session is will follow the same pattern, and this is on purpose because it gives a huge difference, and it gives clear guidance to the AI model, to the Gen AI model, and that's the difference between a vague, a mediocre answer and an average answer. and a precise one, something that we can actually use and rely to. Um, because sometimes these models hallucinate, they make assumptions on their own. So it's very important to give them the clear directions, exactly what you want them to do and what do you expect out of it. For an example, if I just quickly, I hope my this is visible. Let me try to zoom in a bit. Yeah. So this prompt here, it says act as a data quality analyst since we're doing a data cleaning job here, preparing this workbook for an executive reporting that would kind of be the end goal throughout the session. So in the raw data tab, I'm referencing the raw data tab, review the region, status, customer name, account rep, and all of these columns. Trim any leading or trailing white spaces that we saw, standardize the region to exactly these 5 values, east, west, north, south, central, standardize the status to exactly active, cancel, pending. There are some blanks here. Um, and then the renewed column uses inconsistent values for the same two answers, yes, no, yes, there's different ones. And then also standardize this to a yes, no convention and treat the blanks as unknown rather than guessing which they are. So I'm going to hit the send button and this will start looking through the data. It'll also tell you what it is doing at the moment. So right now it's reading all of these header rows to pick up the context of the prompt that I've given it. Look at this columns, then kind of formulating approach on how it would do it. So you can also always expand. These are the tasks that it has already completed. And as I spoke in the beginning, it's now starting to read a skill. If you remember, there was a skill already Claude prompted us to use when we opened up the Claude add-in in here. That there was this clean data skill that it already prompted. So it since we have given it a context and this is an Excel file that we are working, it already picked up that skill and started using that to do most of the job. Just gonna give it some time to do its job. So while Claude does its calculations and everything behind the scenes, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have at this point.
Hi, Khan, it's Reese here. When
Hi.
you wrote this prompt, where did you get the? I mean, I've got the idea. One is role, two is task, three is output expected.
Yeah.
Did you have any other help? Did you say did you get the AI to help you write the prompt itself?
That's a good one, Riz. And oftentimes I do use this. So if that's a very say complex task that I'm trying to achieve, this one was a fairly straightforward one. I knew it had to do a data cleaning job. So just put as a data quality analyst or anything as a data analyst or something of that sort. Um, I reviewed the data, so I knew which of the columns were having the issues and which of what needs to be fixed in there. So I gave it that input. I know that we are going to use this data set to kind of build a reporting at the end. We're going to try and create executive dashboard at the end. So that's why I gave it another a bit of context that this is what we're going to use the data for once you clean it. This one was pretty straightforward, but there's always a way, and there's a trick. Which is you might not be able to formulate all of this, and a more efficient would be to whatever you see on a screen, or whatever you could figure out from the data. Obviously there's 400 rows, you're not going to scrape through all of it. Whatever it right off the bat you see, put that there, and then start working with it. So it would then, when it's reviewing the entire shit, it would give you prompt back, and you'd see that here as well. So I purposefully kept some of the data inconsistencies as is to show exactly that. So it anyways reviews everything, and then tells you there's still fixes that needs to be done here, and you need to tell him, oh, go ahead and do this fixes as well, or give it probably another prompt for this. But you can write a messy prompt on yourself. Try to incorporate as much information or context that you can give to it, and then put that thing into another AI chat, in another Gen AI chat, and you can ask it to refine that prompt if that's a really complex task that you think you do. And I do it, and that also kind of helps improving the output that you get.
Thanks, that's helpful. Cheers.
Yeah, as I was mentioning, I just gave the prompt to clean some of the specified columns, but then it tells me back that these rows 104 and 107 are fully blank. Um, and since I haven't asked it to do anything, it just says I leave this to untouched, rather than inventing an unknown, or just doing a guesswork. Scroll through.
Do we have time for another question while this is running?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Right. Well, it may be more of a question perhaps for Adam or someone else. Just seeking a little bit of clarity. You mentioned earlier that Copilot is sort of the more secure AI to use. However, we're kind of led to believe really from last week's session that if we did buy the proper like team plan in Claude, and just work with that environment, certainly never putting anything into the public one, that is sufficiently secure for us to run our internal projects. Because of course we're going to have a Claude project where we want to analyze a product, and we're going to put data in about what prices we think it would be, and what markets, things like that, all really quite IP driven sort of stuff. So I just assume that is still okay.
Yeah, I think, from our perspective, if you have a paid Claude Teams account, from my understanding is that our folks have determined that is secure. I would say that, are we 100% confident in that? Perhaps not 100%, but our confidence level is high. So I would say the same thing I said last week, which is if you feel like there's a particularly ultra sensitive document that you would be very bad if it ever got out in the public domain, you could do one of two things. You could either do it in you could have Copilot do the analysis, or you could sanitize the document before you uploaded it to Claude. Remove any names, remove any you can put in dummy figures, whatever the case may be. But my understanding is that a paid Claude license, Teams license does have a green light generally for security purposes. But we do believe Copilot to be the superior tool for security. Claude is maybe perhaps a bit more of a robust tool. I would go one step further to say, if you're not using a paid tool, you're not using a secure tool, and you're certainly not using the most powerful tool. So I think the Claude Teams licenses run about $25 a license, and you got to buy a minimum of 5 seats. That's USD. I don't know what they are in Australia or elsewhere. And I think Copilot licenses are also about that same amount. The premium Copilot licenses.
Yeah,
that's a monthly rate.
Yeah, that's clear. I think when you convert it to Australian dollars, the prices are pretty similar.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So I think Claude has finished doing the work, and it also has given us the summary of work that it has done. So there's a data quality cleanup on this is complete and verified. We have asked it to clean the region, standardize the renewed, and clean up the customer names. So it has done all of it, and it's also telling us there's these 2 rows that are fully blank, and few other columns, that is country, product line, deal type, were read but not modified, and confirmed where either nothing shifted or got corrupted. It's also telling that the data integrity stays as is. So if you could just quickly see here, we had a bunch of YN true false. Here is just all cleaned up. There were trailing spaces in the customer names. Those are cleaned up. The status column is standardized, and even the regions are all standardized. So we can I'm gonna go ahead and give it
Con, does it save? So this is just fix this workbook in the active workbook. Does it save the prior version? So if you ever had to refer back to that prior version, you could do so.
So one way of getting that back would be, if the file is hosted in SharePoint, we can do use the SharePoint's native feature to get a version history. But if it's on your desktop, if it's like an offline file, then there's no way we could revert back to the previous version.
I guess one of the things you possibly could do there is you could tell Claude specifically to make any changes in a new document.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
We could do that. And also, so if we are doing a bunch of edits, then it would be like 10 different Excel files. One thing we could also do is, and a more efficient way of it to do would be creating separate new spreadsheets. So just keep the raw data as is, and then create a separate tab as, say, clean data or something like that, and then start working on it, so that the source data remains as is, and then the clean data and whatever we are working is in a different working sheets.
Right. Thank you.
That's a good idea, Adam. Thank you. Yeah. So there's still some date formats issues that I see, and also there's this monthly revenue issues. There's that needs to be fixed. Let me go ahead and give it another prompt. Sorry. and asking it to fix the date format in the DDMM format, and also asking it to check the revenue columns. There's blank cells, there's numbers instead of amounts and everything. I'll just quickly hit enter.
It's fixed it now.
Yeah, just
Your date formats are all consistent now.
fixed everything. It has also done the currency formattings for the revenue. Yep. So this task is done. It also gives us a bit of summary of the data, that there's 10 negative monthly revenue um, items, and then there's 13 customers with blank revenue sales. So, and it has done the cleanup for the sign up and the monthly revenue columns. I'm just to finish off the cleaning of the data, I'm just going to switch over to Copilot now and give it another prompt just to remove the blank columns and um, yeah, to do a proper sorting, just to show you how Copilot would do it in action.
Don, do you find Copilot faster at executing tasks in Excel, given that it's kind of a native Excel tool, a Microsoft tool?
I do see a difference. Yes, Adam. I do see a difference. But I still stick to Claude because of the model capabilities. I know Copilot is faster and for quicker jobs. We should definitely use Copilot. You don't need to use Claude, but I mean it's just a way to say that Claude gives you more accurate output in terms of whenever you're handling numbers, and also give you a better insight of the data compared to Copilot. So that's where it's a edge. It's a small edge over Copilot that Claude has, but then Copilot is faster, definitely. Yeah. So this one was a very small task. You just had to review the data set and then remove the two blank rows and sort the table based on the sign up dates. And yeah, that's done. It's complete. Okay, so the data is complete, and both of the interfaces are kind of same. It gives you whatever it's doing in the background, all of the steps that it has done to do it, so that it leaves an audit trail for you to go and check what it did. And then it also gives a summary that it has cleaned this, and if there's any more data cleaning required that it thinks, it also prompts you back that this should be looked at or this should be cleaned as well, if we miss something out. For the interest of time, I'll stop the live action now and show you something with this data that I've already used. I've already built using all of the prompts that I have. So this was the exact raw data and the clean data we are at this point of time. We have cleaned all of it. And then using a bunch of prompts, I just asked it to kind of review the data and give me a monthly a narrative summary for a monthly business review. So it gave me all of those insights. It gave me the not sure why the numbers are glitching. Oh yeah. So it gave me all of the monthly revenue trends, the revenue by products. It gave me the top 10 churn customer, where's the revenue risk and the amount of it. So these were also prompts, and I'm quickly gonna show you the prompt library that I've created here. So for an insights and analysis, I asked it to identify the trends, the monthly trends. I asked it to detect the outliers and the risk signals that you see on here for the top 10 customers that are at revenue risk, that are churn risk. Also kind of a sales performance in terms of sales reps and region. Um, it also shows that account rep performance and by region. So this was an so exactly based on this prompts, Claude gave me these kind of say outputs, and then I used Copilot, because this is where Copilot and in recent times it has been um, mostly evolved in doing all of this formatting. So this entire data set, then again, I just use Copilot to format it everything so that it becomes more presentable. It's the same data, and sometimes Copilot also adds based on the prompt, based on the kind of prompt you give it. It also adds a few lines of analysis to it. Um, Definitely, those are value adding. So this is what and this to prepare this entire thing, it took me probably 10-15 minutes based on whatever you saw. The data cleaning is the most time taking job that even we as humans do, and even when a Gen AI model does it, because it just has to look through all of each of the cells and then edit all of the cells. But for building something out, specific sections, it wouldn't take that much time. But for the interest of time, I've just built this previously because we would run short of time if we had to do the entire thing. Then once that was done, I also thought of building a dashboard out of this data. So I tried giving it prompts, single prompts that are all everything is here in the library. And then asked it to create some visuals, and then these pivot tables, everything was created by Claude. So the dashboard kind of started like this. Then I asked it to create like an executive dashboard with all of the functionalities, interactivities. So then it added all of these KPI cards to it, the monthly revenue card, active customers, churn rate, average deal size. It also has, to make it interactive, it also added slicers of different contexts, and then this trend lines, the um, the monthly revenue trend lines, the product mix, and then so the customer dynamics based on the regions. And so this was a dashboard that Claude built. And then I again prompted Copilot to kind of reformat it and make it more presentable. And this was the final output that I got. So it was so since I trust Claude mostly with the data analysis and building those actual pivot tables and charts, because it gives a high level of accuracy. So I used Copilot to kind of give me the layout, build whatever is required, and then again used Copilot to verify that, cross-verify that, and also do a proper formatting and add some additional insights that it feels out of this data. So Copilot, I think it did a great job. I mean, creating this dashboard would take hours. It's probably a day's job to for someone like me to kind of clean all of those data, create those visuals, see if everything is working correct, and then build all of this, do the formatting. It just takes a heap load of time. And then Copilot also added few of the other visuals that it feels should be at the forefront, definitely, and also added insights. So these are the actions that we need to take based out of this data. This is what the product performance is in the half yearly, I mean first segment and second segment of the year, all of this. And yeah, I think this has done a great job in terms of kind of creating a dashboard out of nothing. It is just a messy data, and then based on just prompting. So I haven't touched a single cell throughout this process. It was just me kind of prompting, and if I didn't feel something was right, maybe I asked it to correct it, but I didn't touch even a single cell to edit any of this to reach to this final stage.
You didn't write a single formula.
Yeah, I didn't write anything. Just nothing was
Other
done
than the
by me.
prompts, yeah. Other than the prompts,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not even kind of adjust this column or a row. Everything was done by Claude and Copilot. So I just used a healthy mix of both. Since I've used both in multiple different tasks, I know which one has the edge over one of it. So definitely you saw Copilot is better in giving you the small insights, doing the formatting, but Claude is definitely better in doing the actual data handling and data analysis work. Yeah, I think we're almost at the end of the session, and this is what I had planned to show. That and there are definitely many use cases. I mean, it just doesn't have to be like a messy data. You always start with a messy data. Sometimes all of us receive files from different sources. So there's a huge use case around auditing existing files that we already have. There's huge use cases around probably creating some visuals out of a data, or there's a huge use case around because we sometimes we get files with 10 different tabs, 15 different tabs, and we have to look through each of those tabs. So at that point of time, we can definitely use say Copilot or Claude, anything of any of the Gen AI tools, and ask him to explain us the data rather than we going through each of those rows, columns, trying to make sense out of it. Just ask Gen AI to do it, and this just saves us a lot of time. I can really vouch for that. It just saves a lot of time. Yep. Yeah, I'll just pause for a bit. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer it.
Khan, how long have you been using these tools?
So so ChatGPT was the one that got really famous back in 2021 end. So I've been using ChatGPT from that point of time. That was the first entry into Gen AI tools. Then Gemini came along, and then Copilot was launched by Microsoft. At that point of time, Copilot was very buggy. You couldn't just use it, but right now it's kind of at par, I would say, with all other Gen AI tools. So I've been using this for the last 4.5 years across all of the tools. Yeah.
And presumably, though, the acceleration has been huge just in the most recent,
Yeah.
this year.
Yes, and ever since Claude came into picture, it was a sudden. I think it was a industry push for all of the other Gen AI tools to upgrade and keep up, because definitely at one point of time during earlier this year, Claude was way ahead of all the other tools, but they're starting to pick up now. Yeah.
And obviously, I started my career as a financial analyst, so I have lots of experience like you do, having to manually build models and do all this work manually in Excel, write the formulas, audit the formulas, do all that work. I'm curious as to what percentage of productivity enhancement you would say you see if you were to take, between the start of this year and now, how much more efficient have you been in Excel by using these tools?
I would say I save about 40%, somewhere between 40 to 50% of my time, which I would spend doing formattings or writing formulas. So a half of my time is saved.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And sometimes if it's a simple model, I just ask either of the tool to build it.
Yeah, and that's the next question I had, is what percentage of if you had to say, the percentage of the time you actually write formulas and build versus having AI do it, what percentage do you have AI do it versus you doing it manually? In terms
I
of
would
writing
say
formulas, building models, things like that.
I have almost stopped writing very big formulas or complex formulas of my own. Even if I write it, I just ask AI to kind of make it more efficient. Because sometimes when you write formulas manually, it just becomes 4 or 5 lines of kind of code. And then when you give that to AI, it uses the new formula features that are existing in Excel, and we might not know that. And then it gives you back a very efficient formulas that are easy to read, easy to debug. So I've almost, I would say about 60% of the time I'm not writing formulas on my own. But it's also worth noting that someone has to know the basics to check because sometimes I mean, we should acknowledge that sometimes the outputs that we get from the GenAI tools, it starts to hallucinate at some point of time and give you not good outputs. But then, I mean, we should at least know the basics that uh, it is giving us something, and also how do we implement it? How do we? It will give you the wireframes, it will give you the mental model, and everything. As at this point of time, it also builds everything for you, but you should be the one responsible for doing the audits on your own, and understand what it's doing. That's a very important thing, I would say.
So last question for you. How do you go about auditing? Are you sampling? What's your method to audit? Once AI's built this, you're not trusting it 100% and just saying, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
What steps are you taking to ensure the data is the output's accurate?
Yeah. So what I do is so if it's say let's take this example, and if it's something like this at the end of the work that I started doing, and I get this output as a dashboard, then I would start with the output first. Start looking through the output. Say for example, the churn rate here is 25%. Since I know I would have some business context, I know about the business, and it shouldn't be 25%. It should be either in the range of below 20%. So that kind of gives a hint that this isn't right. So I will go back and check everything related to the customers that I assigned as churn, was the amount, and everything. So that's one way of doing it. Also, there's another way of doing it would be to involve AI in the process again, and ask it to act as a probably a controller who can do a good check on financial data, or maybe look it through a lens of an executive, maybe a CXO, and then find out data anomalies, or find out inconsistencies in the data. So it would just look through all of the dashboards, all of the tabs in a single time, and then give you back. You might need to check this, you might need to update this, and then it would also kind of give you the summary of inconsistencies. So it could be a healthy mix of both me doing and also asking AI to do it, so that you never miss a corner.
Can I have a question from my side? Is there already a consensus, or perhaps even an established protocol on how to use these tools on data which resides in validated systems? For example, the reason is, I mean, we have huge data sets in ERP systems or other validated systems, and these systems tend to be clunky. You'd love to work with them, take it out, work with them, put it back in, essentially. But then the question always comes: how do you ensure the traceability and the validated status of the data? Are we there yet that we can say we can use it in such environments, or is this still something to be developed?
I would say if that's a huge data set, and you mentioned about taking data set out of ERPs, and then massaging it and then putting it back into the ERP. If it's a smaller data set, let's say 10,000 rows, Claude and Copilot at this point should be able to handle it. I would say Claude would do a better job. But if it's something like if it's like 500,000 rows, and that's for a mid-sized company, that would be the case. It would have like 100,000 to 500,000 or even 1 million rows of data, because that's how the ERP stores data in those data tables. I would say at this point, since I haven't done anything, but given the huge amount of data, I'm not sure the team plan that we have, that we often use for Claude, or even the premium for Copilot, could handle this. We would definitely need enterprise plans for that, and better models. As I showed earlier, the latest flagship one was a Fable 5, or we can even use Opus to do such high-end tasks, because there's a huge data integrity issue if we put something back to the ERP, and there's something missing, then there's entire crash of the system. So
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
say we
Martin,
did.
it'd be curious. I assume you're talking about dynamics in certain regards, given Lumicini uses dynamics. I would be interested to see what Copilot's capabilities are in dynamics, given that it's a Microsoft product. I don't know.
Yeah, the whole planning, material requirements planning, production planning, all of that. I think, the tools are really not very user-friendly. They're very robust, of course. But sometimes you would have much smarter logics, to work with the data and come up with scenario models for demand or supply forecasts, But then again, of course, it has to go back into a validated environment. And I think that's where it becomes then tricky as well.
Yeah.
I think on the Office 365 application, say Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and even in browsers. So this is working very good. I've tested all of these applications, but for say I use Power BI a lot. For an example, that's also within the Microsoft suite, but Copilot is not that great in Power BI yet. So that's one part.
Yep.
Okay, I think we are at the top of the hour. If there's any more questions, I would be happy to answer it. You can also reach out to me if you have any ideas around any use cases, not just in Excel, but any use cases around AI. Feel free to reach out to me or Ryan and just shoot us an email with your questions. We'd be more than happy to answer it.
Thank you, Khan. Very helpful.
Thanks,
Thank
Kat.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Colin.
you.